Have you ever chased success in your business so hard that one day you looked up and realized all you did was build a life you can't step away from?
The business is growing. Revenue might be up. Things look good from the outside, but underneath it all, you're more stressed, more needed, and somehow less free than when you started.
And that's the trap, because a lot of people get into business thinking growth will buy them freedom, more money, more time, more locations, more momentum. But what if growth by itself actually makes the problem worse?
What if the real issue isn't that your business isn't too small, but that it still depends on you too much?
That's what we're getting into today with Mike DeJong. He's the author of Grow Smart, and his whole message challenges something a lot of ambitious people never stop to question. Are you actually building a business you own, or just creating a more complicated job for yourself?
That's such an important question, especially for our audience, because financial freedom isn't just about income. It's about time. It's about peace of mind. It's about being able to step away without everything falling apart.
In this episode, we talk about the difference between an operator and an owner, why so many entrepreneurs grow too early, how systems and leadership create real freedom, and what it actually takes to stop being the bottleneck in your own business.
Even if you don't own a business, this conversation is still for you. Because at its core, this is really about identity, control, and trust, and whether the life you're building is actually giving you the freedom you thought it would.
So, if you've ever felt stuck in the day-to-day, overwhelmed by responsibility, or like success hasn't felt the way you thought it would,
It's episode 186 of the Five Guys podcast. Let's get into it.
Today, I'm talking with Mike DeJong about the difference between being busy in your business and actually building one that can live without you. Mike, a lot of people think that freedom comes from more growth, more revenue, more locations, maybe even more success. But your argument seems to be almost the opposite of that.
Wow.
That growth without ownership thinking can actually make you less free. So can you tell me a little bit about how you learned this lesson for yourself?
Oh my goodness, Chris. Well, thank you for that warm welcome. And I learned that lesson the hard way, like all the lessons I've learned. That's why I have this passion about speaking it to the world so that people could learn from my mistakes. My father always said, you always could be an example, even if it's a bad example. So here we are. Um, the big realization started when I was on this vacation. It was one of those Midwestern Februaries. And it was 81 degrees one day and snowed the next. And I'm like, that's it. I'm out of here. Going to Mexico. This Tuesday, I'm on a plane to Mexico. I land. I'm not even kidding. Bob Marley's playing. There's steel drums, cool breeze, palm trees. I turn on my phone because I'm an operator. I didn't realize that's what I was at the time, but I'm an operator. Phone blows up. All these text messages. What are we supposed to do? What's going on? I need some direction. And then a call from my manager, and she was what I thought was like what I needed to be free. She said, I know I wouldn't call you unless the place is burning down, but I'm calling you to let you know I'm resigning. I'll stay as long as you're on vacation, but the day you come back, I'm gone. I'm like, oh, geez. Like, all right, well, at least I have her during that time so I can enjoy my vacation. No, I couldn't, because I didn't have any systems or processes in place, Chris. So everything needed a decision, either from the manager or from myself. No one trusted her anymore because she was leaving. So I spent that entire vacation on my laptop. Everyone with me had a great time. I was on my laptop. I'm like, something's got to change. That's when I realized I had an extremely high paying job. Well, actually, it wasn't even that high paying, if I'm being honest with myself. But I had a job that I was paying for. And I didn't actually own the business. And I started putting things in place at that point to kind of change that.
Tell me about the first. So I have to imagine that most people, like, they think as a business owner, like, I'm going to be able to travel and have so much fun and it's going to be wonderful. Tell me a little bit about like what it felt like for you to be on that vacation, I'm guessing with your family, wanting to spend time with them in Mexico, and then having to take yourself away from that because you worked yourself a job, into a job that you just can't walk away from, like normal people's jobs where you can just take a week off of PTO.
Right. Because everyone that it works for me, I'm in charge of their family's income. So you can't just walk away when you're the business leader. It's just, if you have any ethics or morals at all, you can't do it. I felt gutted I think is the way to describe it. It was a real low point in my life, in my career. Like until that point, my identity was all wrapped around like I am this high performing business owner. I'm hitting numbers that most people in my position don't hit. I beat I was in a franchise system at the time, and I beat the single year, first year opening number like significantly. And I'm like, look at me, I'm awesome. Not understanding that top line revenue doesn't mean anything. It's what you keep, the net. That's the kind of the important part. Um, and just just really messed with my headspace at the time. But I'm also not one to wallow for a long time, so it was right away. Went back to okay, where did it go wrong? What did I do wrong, and how can I fix it? And the first thing I looked at was how I was running the business. And I came out of corporate America, and I was in operations in corporate America. And operations is all processes, it's all procedures, it's all like this is how we're doing it in this order. It's very laid out, whether you have someone else's process or you develop them yourself. And it's a lot of meetings. Like let's see how we're doing on this. Let's see how we're doing on that. Who's taking lead on this, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, no meetings, no processes. We don't need any of that stuff. I'm going to empower everybody to make their own decisions. And we're all going to like, I didn't articulate this to myself until this vacation, but I'm going to empower everyone to make their own decisions. We're all going to sing kumbaya and grow this business like a meteor. And at first it worked. And then you get big enough and then it doesn't work anymore.
And that's almost one of the scariest things, right? When someone gets that success off the get-go and they're like, "Man, I'm such a genius that this is working," until it doesn't.
Until it doesn't. Yeah. And then I put some processes in place and some structure. And I tried another mini vacation and found another few things that were broken and rinse and repeat. And then at that time I said, oh, I'm ready. I could open another location because I still didn't have money in the bank account, Chris. I had money in the business. If you looked on paper, we were making seven figures, which is not bad by any standard. But I'm taking home less than my managers were. I'm like, I own this thing. What do I need to do? I know. I'll grow. Open the second location, magnified the problems. Just accelerated the problems. There's only so many hours in the week. What is it? 168 hours in a week. You got to sleep sometimes. So, hard work is what got me to where I was, but it couldn't bail me out. Um, and really started to falter in both locations. Sales were down, customer engagement was down, morale was down. You name a metric, a KPI, it was dropping.
I find that so interesting that, most people, especially here in America, we have that hustle culture, right? Of if it's not working, it's because you're not working hard enough. Just keep going,
Exactly.
keep going, keep going. And this is what I imagine got you to systematize everything and then eventually write the book, Grow Smart. So could you tell me a little bit about that book? I guess you already answered what prompted you to write it,
Yeah.
but what inside of it, what's the wisdom that you put into it?
Yeah. So that's a lot of good foreshadowing there. I did start doing processes and procedures and really doubled down. And then every time I would take a smaller step away and find out what broke, fix that, smaller step away, what broke, fix that, until I got to a business that really did more or less run without me. And I want to put it out there. There is no such thing as completely passive income or a business that runs 100% without you. You need to be involved.
For
And
saying that.
and I made that mistake too. And maybe we could talk about that a little later. But uh, I kind of embodied all this stuff, and then I started coaching people in the franchise system very informally. Other people be like, "Hey, I see you're starting to grow. You've got your fourth location coming online now. Every convention, you're up on the stage being rewarded. Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing this?" And I love to share. So I'm like, and because I want to see everyone successful. I'm a big believer in there is no pie. There's unlimited money created all the time, and you could have as much of it as you want or need. I guess really shouldn't say want, as you need, because we all have different needs. So, tell everyone what I'm doing and it's good for all of us. And after a few years of informal coaching, enough people said, Mike, you really got to write this down. I think you have a book in you. I fought them like almost everyone that wrote a book has ever done. and then distill the knowledge about the process that I went through to do this. And it starts with identifying where you are on the operator versus owner scale. There's a little quiz to start it out, and it's not like a oh you suck or oh you're an amazing. It's let's just see where you are. Let's be real. Not worse than it is, not better than it is. Just where you at, because then you know where to start.
And tell me, what is one of the clearest signs that maybe someone legally owns a business, they are an owner, but they're operating it, but in truth, they're an operator, like psychologically.
Yeah, if you're in the decision making process, other than for the ultimate direction, like the strategic stuff, you should be figuring out the day to day. You know, should we order this thing? What should we do for this birthday? How should we take care of this customer that we screwed up? If you're doing any of that stuff, then you're an operator.
So have you ever had someone who, they take your quiz, they go through it, they find out like, oh no, I'm an operator.
Yeah.
And now the next question is, oh, what do I do next?
Right. Yeah. It starts with baby steps because so many of us, again, myself included, our identities are really wrapped up in what we do, whether it's a corporate America job or any job for that matter. I bring up corporate America because that's where I'm most experienced. Although, my first job was pumping gas at a full service gas station. So back in the day, I don't know if do they even have those in New Jersey anymore. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I have an Oregon. That's the only state that I'm aware of.
Oregon still has them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it was so I'm not afraid of hard work, but so we have our identities wrapped in it, and it's first getting that mindset piece with them that you're not changing that you're a business owner who you are. You're just changing how you approach your day to day. You're changing how you look at what you're doing, and then we can move forward from there. And that's the hardest piece is that mindset shift.
Yeah, it's funny. I coach when it comes to finances, and I think we spoke before the even podcast where we talked about that mindset piece and why it's so important. Since you've been coaching for a while, what have you found to be the best way to get past that mindset piece, or what has been the biggest impediment to these operators to becoming owners in their brains?
Yeah, it starts with the I can't find anyone to do fill in the blank better than me. I don't care what the process is. It's like I can't find anyone else. So if I can get them one win early on, it's like how can we find someone who's better at that than you, and then do it with them. Which coaching we're usually working like do these things by yourself. Here's how you do it. But if I could work with them on that first piece and get them that first win, where they really see that they could get someone that wow, this person is better at me at this. Holy crap. It kind of opens the door. And then from there, I move on to introducing things like your ascent protocol, which is kind of these series of questions I get people to ask when they're stuck in a story. Because we live our lives in stories. The brain just, if it had to process everything that came into it, it would burn too many calories and burn out. So
I, I,
so
I love that you said that. Could you tell us a little bit about your ascend questions that you go through?
yeah, let's start with okay. We all start in a state of joy. If you see a newborn baby, unless they are hungry or dirty, they're pretty happy. Like they're just sitting there giggling at the world, right? Like it's and we kind of learn from there how to be upset through stories, and these stories come from meeting our human needs. I've heard them described as six main human needs. We have a need for certainty, a need for variety, a need for significance, a need for either love or connection. Love's the highest standard of that. And then a need for growth and a need for contribution if the first four are being met. And all of us have them in different levels. Like some people really need certainty, and some people don't need it at all. Some people they live on significance, like that's their number one driver. Some people's love and connection, whatever it is. We build these stories to kind of meet those needs. Okay, so we're starting with joy. We understand their stories to meet our needs. Then we have to look at everything that comes through us. We have to understand that there's the facts and then there's the stories. And it's separating those two. It's like we experience the facts and then we tell the stories. And once we know we're telling a story, then we can tell a different story. So instead of the story being people suck and no one ever shows up for work on time and I can't find good people, it could be, oh my goodness, like everyone is trying their best, and I'm not looking in the right places for the right people. Just that could be one thing. Or one that I use all the time until I actually broke myself of the habit, because you could use this anywhere in your life, is I used to get really, really, really upset when people cut me off in traffic. Like, I wouldn't flip them off or honk the horn. I'm a little more restrained than that, but I'd be like, "Gah!" and that's not good for your blood pressure. And I changed the mindset, instead of you sorry SOB, why are you cutting me off in traffic? What makes you more important than I am? To, oh my goodness, man, I hope you make it in time to the hospital to before your mother dies. And I still get choked up thinking about it, because I put it so deeply in me that I really believe that person's rushing to the hospital to be at their mother's deathbed. And I have all this grace for them at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you can. I like to call it the hedonic. What is it? Where you're just going through life and you're just habitually reacting to everything.
Yeah.
So I always say it's your frame of reference. We don't see truth. We don't see what actually happens in front of us. We see our subjective truth, but then we believe that our subjective truth must be the truth, must be like divine truth or the logos that goes for all things. And until you can break that pattern, it's going to be very difficult. How have you found the best way to show people that they're living in stories? Because from my experience, when I do that, when I tell that to them, they're like, no, 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 my truth is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I lead them step by step through a story. Um, it's like a shorter way of saying, and I actually, I'm going to have to like remember exactly you said that, because that was beautiful. I just say, we live the life we focus on. Focus on something else, you're living a different life. But I'll lead them through a story and all of the stuff that the pushback. It's like, no, no, this actually is the fact. You're like, is it? Is that 100% true? And if it is 100% true, how does that make you feel? And if it isn't 100% true, how does that make you feel? And then especially that one, like, well, if it's not 100% true, then geez, maybe I should cut them some slack, or I should do this other thing. And it's really, I'm not going to lie, Chris, it's tough the first few times. And then following up with them, whether they're on a weekly or monthly or group coaching, depending where people are at or what they need in the world, following up with them to get them to practice. Because I try to get them to practice in the low hanging fruit, not the deep seated yeah, stuff that's been in there for 30, 40, 50 years, but the small stuff, like the example I gave, getting cut off in traffic. Like, because that doesn't affect their business life if they get cut off in traffic, but it's practicing breaking the rhythm. If they're writing and their pen runs out of ink, people are like, okay, let's try a new story. If like all the small stuff, just work on that, and then work up to the medium stuff, and then the bigger stuff, and then the bigger stuff. And I've had people be very successful of it in 4 to 6 weeks, and I've had people that it takes 6 months or more. But I haven't had anyone not get there yet.
Yeah. I feel that what I find is that people, they'll often quit before they make it. Like you can make it, but they'll quit or they'll think this isn't working
Yeah.
before they ever get there. From a personal example from my life, oftentimes when I used to wake up, because I wake up god awful early to go and like train and work out, and I always tell myself, "Oh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I hate this." And every morning I just hated it until I realized like I'm telling myself this story that I'm tired and that I hate this.
Right.
And now every time that I feel myself saying like I'm tired, I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like I'm up. I'm up. If I need to go to bed, I can go back to bed. But like I'm up, so let's do it. And
Yeah.
it's
What a blessing that you're on the right side of the grass.
yeah, that's all you can ask for, right?
Yeah. That's right. That's it.
So, Mike, why do you think that? And I'm sure I kind of know the answer to it, but why do you think that so many entrepreneurs they chase growth when what they really need is structure?
Um, we all have our entrepreneurial home. We all have our emotional home. We all have our entrepreneurial home. We have a certain skill set, all of us. We're really good at, one thing, two things, 10 things, 50 things, whatever they are. And those things lead to what got us to where we were. And we're like, if we double down on those things, we're going to keep growing and be successful. So the problem is they need to learn a new skill set. They need to learn something different. And when you learn something different, you tend to get stressed out. And stressed is just a mature word for fear, in my opinion. It's like no one says I'm afraid, but they say I'm stressed. I'm really stressed. It's like, yeah, you're really afraid. I've been there. I still feel it. I'm sure you do too, Chris. So taking and then taking that first step, and then, okay, well, why are you afraid? Well, what if I don't know what I'm doing? Well, what if you don't know what you're doing? You didn't know what you're doing. You couldn't walk when you were a baby. Ah, it was 50 years ago. What does it matter? You didn't know when you started this business. Well, I knew enough. Well, you know enough to take the first step. There, you have coaches out there. You have Chris. You have Mike. You have YouTube. You have ChatGPT. There, there's a million sources that can get you the information. Why can't you take this first step? Well, what if I fail? What do people think of me? Oh, all right. Now we're getting to it, right? What do people think of me? Identity again. Um, and then there's this fear. It's like, well, what if people think less of me? And then if they think less of me, I'm not enough. And if I'm not enough, I can't be loved. And it all goes down to that root. If I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And which starts with I'm stressed. So getting them to understand that I bet people in their life thinks amazing of them and will give them some grace, or, oh, they really don't like to hear this, Chris. Don't care.
Yep.
Like, yeah, yay, Chris. And then back on to thinking about their own life, like 99.9% of humans. Or, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Chris. And then go back on with their life like 99.9% of humans. But people don't want to hear that because we are the hero in all of our own stories, right? And we don't want to let ourselves letting anyone else down. I think that's where it leads from anyway.
No, it's funny. You and I, we talk. It seems that we talk about a lot of things. I always refer back to Joseph Campbell and the story arc of, we all think we're the hero of the story, but in truth, we're probably playing a victim or a villain in our own life. And
Yes.
I think there are people like you and I, when we come into someone's life, we try to play the role of guide, and we try to play Gandalf or Morpheus or Obi-Wan, and tell them,
Yes.
hey, this is the way to go on your path, but not anyone else's path, like only your path that you have to walk yourself. And I can help you by telling you not to go in that hole, not to play with that snake, don't climb that tree, but
Right.
I can't do it for you. You need to do it yourself.
Right. 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 You open that up even more for people. And you take, if you're a Star Wars fanatic, Luke Skywalker was a pretty weak character.
Mhm.
He needed Obi-Wan and Yoda and Han Solo to protect him along the way. What's another popular
I would think
uh,
Neo from the Matrix. He came
yeah,
in,
Neo from the Matrix. Yeah, Harry Potter. He had his tribe of guides that kept him moving in the right direction. He was a pretty weak character. So once people understand that being the hero means acknowledging that you don't have all the skills, but you can learn them through your guides and get there, they could just explode their growth.
so let's say that somebody was to listen to this and they'd be like, okay, maybe the story I'm telling myself isn't 100% true. Maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room in here, and maybe they're even willing to objectively like look at their business. How should someone know whether when they actually do look at their business, if they need to grow, if they need to simplify, or if they need to actually take a step back and rebuild?
Oh, that's good. Um, the short circuit answer is go take 3 days off without your cell phone on. If you could do that, you're probably in a pretty good spot. If you can't, then you need to pause and build systems and structure, which is it sounds super complicated, but it doesn't need to be before you move on. Um, and you don't actually have to go anywhere. You could just sit in your house and be ready if there's a problem. But that's the quick test. I'm sure there's like other more meaningful tests people can do, but I kind of like jump off the deep end. That's my method of finding things out.
Well, let's get into that system and structure. So someone comes in, they find, okay, I am operating. I'm definitely not an owner because without me, I made it 3 hours and then it started,
Yep.
or the phone went off before my alarm clock did.
Right. We've been there.
Where do we go from here? What are the systems or the structures that we can start to set up? Do you have like a framework of start here and here, or where do we go?
So I start with like real basic, and I tell people if it has more than 3 steps or you do it more than 3 times in a year, then you need to have a process around it. So let's just start there. And then they're like, okay, well, I have like 4,000 tasks that have more than 3 steps. Like, what am I going to do here? I'm like, well, which ones do you do every week? And then they'll tell you, and I'm like, which ones do you think you can get? Like, if you had to give one of those away, if something really dire was going to happen to you or a family member, if you didn't give one of those away, which one can you give away? And they'll come up with one. I'm like, great. Now, instead of sitting down at your computer or whatever, and typing out a 400-page draft of exactly how to do this, how about you just grab this little tool right here, your cell phone, and you just record yourself doing it. Just whatever you do, go to the website you go to, call the people you call, work on the spreadsheet you work on, whatever it is that task is. And just like talk while you're doing it. It's like, okay, I'm going to this tab and then I'm looking, I log in using this password and I go over here and I click on the menu and then I click on, projects, and then I click on the name of the project. And then when you're all done, don't edit it. Don't look at it, because people hate looking at themselves, right? On film, we all hate that. Film shows you how old I am. On recordings, and I say just hand it to someone who you think can do it, and then ask them. Say, don't judge me. Please just go do this task the next time it needs done. And if you have any questions anywhere along the process, don't try to fumble through it. Just come and ask me, and I'll fill it in. And then that kind of builds the process out to about 95, 96%. And then if you have a third person you could ask, not you, not the first person you ask, but another person that you could give that now evolved process to, give it to them and let them try it. And if they get it right, you got your first process. And it's really, especially with the advent of AI tools where they could transcribe video now, and just popping some stuff together, it literally takes minutes. You don't have to take any time away. Because that's the other big argument. I don't have time to write these things. When am I going to do it? It's like, just do it while you're doing it, and then do the next one, and then do the next one until you've done everything that you do, and then start getting your people to do the ones that they do, so that everything in your business is documented.
People are on computers. A wonderful resource that I always recommend is Loom Video. It's just amazing for being able to record, and it can transcribe
Yes.
everything and create it to processes. But what I can already hear in my head, if I was coaching somebody, giving them their advice, giving the advice you're giving them, it would say, that's going to take too long. I have so many processes. I'm never going to be able to complete all of it.
Yeah, I've heard that argument too, Chris. So again, as part of the mindset stuff, and then as coaches, we got to set up challenges for people. At least that, in my opinion, that's what you got to do. Like, all right, what's the one, two, or three that you could give away tomorrow if you had to? Again, like something bad is going to happen to you or a family member if you don't do this. And then you get them to challenge their team members, and then they're still going to have frustration with it. They're like, no one could do it but me. It's impossible. Then I pull out the old 80-20 rule trick, and I think I've been using this for years, but I think Dan Martell said it best, and that's 80% done is 100% freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could start something, have someone sit down with you and show them which direction to go, not just delegate and disappear, the D&D method, but actually sit down with them for some period of time. Sometimes it's 2 minutes, sometimes it's 2 hours, depends on the process, and get them going. Step away for most of it, and then come back and just polish it when it's done. That's freaking awesome. It's 80% done, and that's one less you have to do.
I've always liked to use the old saying, never let perfect be the enemy of good.
Perfect is the lowest standard because it's completely unachievable.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
too many business owners, especially as entrepreneurs, we go into this with I'm a perfectionist. That's the reason that I need to run my own business because no one else can do it the right way. And then we end up shooting ourselves in the foot, or that strength taken to an extreme becomes a weakness.
Yeah, and that's the theme of the operator to owner trap, is what gets us to be a really great business owner initially, operating in whatever our zone of genius is, as I've heard it said, is the trap that keeps us from becoming a true owner and being able to scale. Because to circle back around, if you're like, all right, I'm just going to grow, that'll fix it. If you haven't fixed yourself in the equation, you're just going to multiply chaos and multiply your problems. And I don't want people to lose sleep or figure out how they're going to make payroll or all the nasty things that too many people have been through, myself included. So that's why I love to talk about this stuff with people like you, Chris.
Yeah. So we just brought up the first thing to do, which is going to be start to actually write down or to systematize the things that you do every day. In your book, you describe a business as a hand crank machine. When it still depends on the owner, that means that they have to be hand cranking it all the time. So once we set up the first system, which is, I'm going to guess, actually writing down or using AI to digitize or to somehow operate what it is that I do every single day. What's the next step in order to get these owners to stop being the bottleneck for their business?
Yeah. So getting all those great processes and procedures, um, getting them followed, that's a good step. uh, so many of us as children, how many people, how many times have we heard from our parents, okay, get your shoes on, we're leaving in 5 minutes. And 5 minutes later, get your shoes on, we're leaving in 5 minutes. And 5 minutes later, and business owners are the same way a lot with our employees. It's like we're writing down these policies and procedures. This is the way we're going to do things. And then an employee will come and ask them a question. They'll just be like, oh yeah, do this, do that, go this other way, instead of saying, hey, remember we wrote that new policy or procedure for that? You should go there. And it's getting in that habit, building the habit. It's like going to the gym and doing the reps, building the habit of sending them off to handle it themselves. Even though it will take longer, even though it will cost more, even though there will be mistakes, Chris, yes, there will be mistakes because they're not perfect. They're not you. If they were you, they'd own their own business. Um, Ultimately, you're going to get breathing space. You're going to get room. You're going to get to be an owner, and then you're going to get whatever freedom means to you.
You know, when we first originally talked, the reason I was so excited to have you on the podcast is because selfishly, I'm at that point in my own business where I'm trying to remove myself. And it's like you
Oh,
said,
tell me what's going on, Chris, for the listeners. What's one thing?
yeah. So the biggest thing is I'm a solopreneur. I just do it all myself. I do have a few assistants that help me out. What I've been trying to figure out now is, you know, I think the best and worst part of being in business are the people.
Yeah,
The people that you work with are the best part of it, that you get to see them overcome adversity, you get to see them grow, all that greatness.
love
And
that.
it's the worst part because you also get all the other stuff that comes with that. So I've been
Yeah,
trying to figure out how am I going to implement AI as my new employee, and using these agents to be able to do basically everything that I need, meaning that I need to systematize myself to not teach to a human being, but to teach to a piece of silicon. Like we took sand and made it think, and now I'm teaching that sand.
amazing, really. Yeah,
Yeah, can you do this for me?
yeah. So I mean, I am a huge supporter of AI. I literally live in it every day. I'm always I'm not trying every new tool that comes out. I believe in mastery. So take a tool, take it to the like find out where the limits are of it, like what can it do and what can it do for you, and then move on to the next one. I find too many people like they're chasing tools. They're chasing ideas. Oh, I heard this one can do this. I heard this one could do that. Blah blah blah. But in the AI journey, um, what a lot of us are losing, Chris, is the authentic stuff that makes you you. So as long as you're still doing that stuff, identifying, doing podcasts, writing authentic, real copy, interacting with real clients, then all the stuff that isn't client facing or important, then that's the stuff. Yeah, you should move off to AI as much as you can. There's some neat stuff in accounting now where to look at your receipts and figure out what it is. Not just bookkeeping. What's the word I'm looking for? Schedule management, lead generation. A lot of that stuff can be done with AI. Absolutely. But but that authentic you stuff, man, you can't stop doing that.
Yeah, and that's something that I've noticed with a lot of business owners recently is that they're just saying, "Oh, I'll just use AI for everything. I always get rid of my people and just use AI." And I keep on saying, like, that sounds wonderful. We're not there yet. Like,
No, no, you hear. It's going to be an interesting few years. That's for sure. People who have deep knowledge in an area, I think they're still going to be very relevant. They might still have jobs building AI agents like you're talking about doing for yourself. Instead of hiring another person to help, they'll build an AI agent to help. But they still have that deep knowledge that AI doesn't necessarily have yet. Um, it's coming, but it's not there yet.
rather than pontificating as to what the future
Yeah,
holds with AI, since no one really knows,
nobody knows. Yeah.
let's get back to human beings. So let's say we have a human being and they're an employee of ours and we've systematized and we tell them, hey, go do this. How does the owner know when they have a people problem or a system problem if things aren't being followed?
Mm. I think it really depends on how good your culture is. Um, if you have a culture of uh, pointing fingers, you know, wasn't me. Uh, if someone makes a mistake, they get jumped on. then you're always going to have a people problem, even if you have a system problem. If you have a culture of, I've heard it called the 100-0. I like calling it that. I've called it, what's the, I can't remember the name. The Hawaiian name for family, Ohana. Yes, the Ohana culture. I've heard people call it that. I've been in businesses where we are Ohana, um, which is interesting because your business family is different than your family. We could talk about that a little bit later, maybe. But if you have this culture of like, okay, hey, I screwed up. My name's Mike, and I made a mistake, and here's what I learned from it. Like, then you could be like, okay, did Mike make the mistake because Mike wasn't following the procedure? Or did Mike make the mistake because there's something in the procedure that allowed the mistake to happen? Uh, and aviation does a great job with that. I mean, they tear apart every aviation accident and they look at the processes, the procedures, and the human factor, and they find out where those things interconnect and fix it. So it starts with having a good enough culture where people can stand up and say like there is a problem, and then figuring out whether it was the person or the procedure. Because no policy, no procedure, nothing you write down or record on Loom or Descript or any of them is going to last forever. What gets you to 100,000 is not going to get you to 1 million, and what gets you to 1 million is not going to get you to 10 million. These things have to change. They need to be evergreen, and people need to be able to put their hand up and say, "Hey, not just I want to change for change's sake, but we have a problem here."
Yeah. While we're here talking about culture, I'd like to double click on it again because I found one of the most interesting ideas in the books is that culture is not it's not fluff like most people think it is. It is operational. So could you tell myself and the audience, Mike, when did you realize that culture could either multiply your freedom or be the thing that destroyed it?
Yeah, it came with that second location, Chris. I took some key people from the first location to run it, and then helped hire the team, and then walked away. I didn't spend much time there. I didn't have the time to spend there because, again, 168 hours in a week, and it'll be fine. And the culture didn't translate. The culture didn't move from those couple I moved over there to the new people that were hired. Um, and where I went from one place where I could like say, "Hey, Chris, see this thing over here? Remember we wrote that new procedure?" And you'd be like, "Oh yeah, no problem." I'd go over and say something there. Cause if I see something, I'm going to say something. I think one definition of leadership is not walking past a low standard. If you see something, you got to say something. And it'd be like, "Oh my God, like the boss is yelling at me." I'm like, "Yelling at you?" It just opened my eyes that how important culture was, and that I was at fault because I just expected these two wonderful human beings, but on the younger side and inexperienced, and had never built a culture before, just to automatically translate what's in my head and what I built at my first location into the second location. So I had to basically rebuild that location.
How did you go about doing that? How did you did you have to let go of those leaders that you brought into the organization, or did you have to go and retrain them to really show them the vision that you have rather than letting them run with the vision they thought you had?
So what I did do is I went down the retraining route, and then a few incorrect hires, shall we say, were promoted to customer. Um, and I don't do that lightly. I really do work with, I'm going to say just about everybody, not everybody. If someone comes up to your face and just starts, it's like, all right, you're not a fit. You should probably call it a day and work somewhere else. But I generally work with people. But in hindsight, Chris, I probably should have moved them back to the first location where they were very, very good at what they did and still work for me, and inserted myself or a completely different leader. Because remember, I wasn't quite an owner yet. I was still very much an operator, getting better, but still an operator into that spot. And that's what I did ultimately 6 or maybe it was 8 months later. But I lost that time in trying to lead them to the right spot.
Yeah.
So I
In the
like to
book,
talk about my mistakes so people like, oh, okay, like he didn't get it right the first time. No, no, I did not.
yeah, and that's part of the journey, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of being a guide is coming back and saying, "Hey, these are all the things I messed up. Don't do that. Don't play with
Nope.
that snake. Don't get in
Don't
that
do that.
hole." Like, because
Yeah, and
I've
then
done it.
in full transparency, the guy that I brought in, he'd opened like 100 different locations for different franchises over the years, like really smart operational guy. Um, but I found out he was handsy, and everyone that works there was a young lady. So like, "Pfft,
Get
you're
done.
you're done. And I honestly don't believe it was malicious, but you just can't, like, you don't do that. Like, I don't care if it's malicious or not. Like, the zero tolerance. So he was gone. So then I had to find someone else. And last I checked, she's still working in that location for the people I sold it to, and doing great. Like, the place is accelerating. Every year she beats her numbers.
Well, speaking of that, in the book, you talk about aligning your team's why with the company why. How did that shift in leadership for you help to manage your employees to start building a, a culture of ownership, which is one of my big things is like extreme ownership. So I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, I found out, and this was really hard. It's still really hard for me, Chris, is finding out what makes each individual member tick. I just assumed, oh, if I give you a bonus or more money, you're going to be in. Or if we hit these metrics, you're going to get more money. You're going to be in, and you're going to like be driven to do this. And it was anything but. It was really getting, and it's not like back someone in the corner like, tell me what you need. It was a series of dozens and sometimes more than dozens of informal conversations and building trust on their passions and purposes in life. I had people like, if I could just get home to my kids before they get home from school every day, that would be like, if I could do that, I will work here forever because no place else could give me that. I had a young lady. She's actually still, again, different location, still working there, 9 years. I did sell that location, and again, she's beating her numbers every week. I want Thursday afternoons off to go work in the animal shelter because that's where I get refilled. And if I could have my Thursday afternoons off, no one else will guarantee that for me. Like, I will be here forever. Some people, it was, I just need like 4 or 5 mental health days a year. I don't want to even like schedule them. Like, I just need to know if I just call in and say, like, I can't make it today. I'm not going to get the, oh my God, we're short staffed. We really need you. Like, it's just going to be a, yeah, okay, no problem. Take your day. Like, and if you can give them that, but that wasn't, none of those were true for each individual. And it was finding out from each individual and then trying to work that into policies and procedures that fit everybody, right? Like, how come so and so has every Thursday afternoon off and I have to be more flexible in my schedule? Like, oh well, you see, this is what's going on, but this is what you're getting. It's just a constant communication.
And then did you find the best way to do that was just to straight up ask your employees? Because what I find with a lot of, I'll say not great leaders or not great leaders yet who are on the path to becoming better leaders is they assume whatever my incentive is should be your incentive. Therefore, if this is my why, it should be your why because obviously it's the correct why because I have it.
Obviously.
How do you go about, how did you find the best way to go about finding other people's why was, and then maybe even taking it a step further, aligning that with the company's why, which I have to imagine would be your why as well as the owner.
Yeah. So it was asking those conversations. At first, I just said, hey, like, what do you need? Like, this bonus isn't working for you. Like, you don't seem to care if we hit it or not. Like, what's going on? And they're like, no, it's important to me. I like money. Everything's great. Um, okay, well, like, what's your passion? I'm passionate about, like, I stuff, things. I'm a happy person. Like, it was literally taking the time to build the trust. And then the informal, I would randomize when I'd have lunch, and then I go sit in the lunchroom and just listen and then talk where it's appropriate, but not all the time because you don't want, like, people get like freaked out when their boss is sitting there hovering over them. But engaging in those meaningful conversations and getting people to understand, it's like, oh no, he really does care, because I really did. My motives were selfish. I really did, because I didn't want to be an operator anymore. So, like, I think all humans um, are selfish to some degree. Like, so it was selfish motives, but also, like, if I could get them what they want, then I'm going to get what I want, and then everybody's going to be happy. And then you take what they need and you say, okay, now if I can get you every Thursday off or these X number of mental health days or get you home with your kids, like, can you guarantee me you're going to hit your numbers. You're gonna do what you need. You're gonna step up on those rare days where it's like all hands on deck and three people didn't show up. Or like, can I get that from you? And I didn't ask that like straight out after I learned what they wanted. It was again building it up, communication, talking. And then I learned I had to ask, because when I didn't ask and I just assumed, those moments would come. It's like, oh goodness, I really need you to do, fill in the blank today. Oh yeah, I can't do it. They were not aligned. They liked what they got, but they were not aligned with the company why. So then I had to like do that explicit connection to put their why with the company why, which is my why, which keeps us all moving in the right direction.
While we're talking about why, I feel like that's one of the deepest questions, right? Of like, what is your why? How do you coach with your currently? Are you coaching with your people, like discovering their own why? Because I think we all have like, oh, my why is to make this much money. It's to do this. It's to do that. But most of them are just they're just words. Like you're just saying words. You're
Yeah.
not really saying like a true why. How have you helped people to uncover what's actually deep down in there, like the actual thing they need to pull out?
Yeah. So with my coaching clients, I just keep asking deeper questions. I've heard Dean Graziosi and other people call it going 7 levels deep. You just keep asking, okay, well, if you had $100 million or $1 billion or $10 billion or whatever your number is, $100, like whatever, like what would that give you? Oh, well, then I would have the freedom to take my family on vacation 3 times a year. Okay, well, could you do that with $100,000? Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I could. Okay, well, why is it important to take your family on vacation 3 times a year? Well, when I was a kid, we didn't get to go on vacation. Okay, well, when you were a kid and you didn't get to go on vacation, why was that important to you to go on vacation? Well, all the other kids were going on, and you keep going deeper and deeper, and you can kind of get them to answer it. I only do that though with people that I'm actively coaching, or I ask permission of. Like generally, I found my rank and file employees, they don't want to go that deep, and that's fine. I won't push them. I'm there to help them. I want to be a resource, but I'm not going to push them that deep. But my managers and up, and then people, my coaching clients, we definitely do go down that path to find out that why. And it's usually pretty resistant for the first 5 or 6 questions. Then number 6 or 7, they're like, "Oh my god!" And it's because and they don't even realize it themselves until they get there.
Yeah, I used to joke around that if I can get someone to cry on the first time I meet with them, like we got them, like we made it.
Yeah, that's great. Is that a goal of yours, Chris, to get people to cry the first time you meet them?
Generally not. I mean, it is to build a deeper connection though. So sometimes that is just part of what happens, right?
Oh God, yeah. And I got to tell you, I've turned the last 10 years, I've turned into a crazy crier. I never like I don't think I cried for the previous 40, but now I just can't stop.
Yeah, it happens in life, right?
Yeah,
Uh, early on in the conversation, you mentioned this 100-0 culture. Could you unpack that for me? I think in the book you put 100% responsibility, 0% blame culture, and
yeah.
I think it sounds really powerful, but I can also really imagine that it's hard, if near impossible, to live consistently.
Super hard, damn near impossible. You're right, because we all grew up blaming our brother or our sister or our friend, or not me, that invisible cartoon character. Like it wasn't me, not me. It's always someone else's fault. We've been deeply embedded in our psyches that we shouldn't accept responsibility and we should blame someone else because we're going to get in, going to get in trouble, whatever that means. We're going to get in trouble. So it's very difficult to get people to understand this. Like, no, if you just say like, "Hey, I did this thing and I'm responsible, and here's why it happened," um, and there's like really no consequences other than how are we going to fix it. Uh, People don't believe you. So yeah, you have to live it through example. I've done it myself where I've not intentionally, although people have accused me of that, of screwing up an order or doing something wrong, and I'm like, "Hey, everyone, I screwed this thing up. Here's what happened. I didn't follow the procedure, or it was unclear between step 7 and 8 what was going on, and I did the wrong thing, or the computer software changed and we got to update the procedure." But whatever, like, but really, it was me because I could have caught that. Like, I'm responsible. Um, And here's how I think we could fix it. Does anyone have any suggestions on how we could do that different? You do that a few times and people are like, all right. And then you'll get that one person, hopefully, that puts their hand up and then they don't get their head torn off. And then they usually do it a few times. And then someone else will take a risk. And before you know it, it almost becomes too far the other way. Like people are like, I don't have to do anything because I'm just responsible. And then you got to kind of tamp it back. It's like, this isn't a get out of jail free card. This is a, if something happens, not a, I'm just going to slack off today culture. So it takes a minute to find that balance, but you can get it, but it's very fragile because new people come in. Our workplaces are rarely static. I don't know about you, Chris, but I've had more than one job in my life. So I worked for a few places, worked for myself in different jobs, in my life. So you go into these different workplaces and you have to rebuild it. One person comes in and they're like, kind of like, what's going on? Or they weren't completely trained as part of the training. I used to not have as a part of the early training talking about the 100-0 culture. I just figured organically this will happen. Mythically, the thoughts will flow out of my brain and into theirs. And, I didn't think about it at all, obviously, because that's obviously not going to happen. If I did think about it, I knew that wouldn't work. You say these things out loud, you're like, that was really stupid. Everyone knows that. And then it falters, but then you catch it and you keep pushing it back. Or like I have had, again, I'm a transparent guy. I've had a couple of cases where I've stepped away too far away for too long. I wasn't watching the right KPIs. I wasn't making enough. You have to make like as an owner, you still have to visit your properties. Uh, I wasn't making enough visits, and the culture slipped enough where we just had this cascade of good people left because they didn't believe that it existed anymore. And then you're left with people that weren't living the culture, and then you get to rebuild, and it's a whole thing, and it's a lot of work. And it just be like, all right, the lesson for me there is you got to pay attention and ask deeper questions. Not like everything okay? Yeah, everything's great. All right, whew, moving on. Gonna go have a latte with someone else. Like it's you gotta spend the time.
Yeah. I think that might be a good transition to something you brought up earlier, the difference between like your family and your work family. Could you expand upon that a bit more?
Oh yeah. Um, I think a lot of workplaces use like we're all family here as like this generic like I need you to pitch in and do everything for me. But too many workplaces don't treat it the other way in that, oh, we're pinched for money. I'm going to lay you off now, as opposed to we're going to figure it out as a family how we're all going to stay employed. Or we can go even a little further. I have worked in places where this has happened, but it's rare. It's like my daughter, not my daughter. I'm using this as an example. Needs a kidney transplant. You're going to go to every member of your actual family and see if they're a match, and they'll probably have no problem donating a kidney. But would your work family donate a kidney? I don't think you should have to ask.
Yeah.
Although again, I have worked in a place where it did come up and someone did, and it was just a beautiful moment because and that place also was a really beautiful place to work because we really did all feel like family right until you get one or two people leave and one or two new people come, and then you're a group. You're not necessarily a family anymore, and that's okay. Words matter, but maybe they don't matter enough in that area to split hairs. I don't know.
Yeah. How do you think, I mean, as an if someone is trying to become an operator, how do they create that culture that truly feels like a family? Because I've worked in places where it's like, hey, we're a family, but the moment something comes up, you're not a family anymore. Even comes down to like, hey, if you quit, you need to give me 2 weeks. But if I'm going to fire you or lay you off, I'm going to do it right now, and it's on you to figure it out. Like things just aren't fair.
Yeah, let's take that last thing first. It's a rare moment when I haven't given people a couple weeks of severance. Um, and in a small business, that hurts because you don't want this person there anymore, and you don't really generally have the cash flow, but it's the right thing to do. I say generally because there's always an exception to every rule. But it becomes a two-way street. I used to believe, hey, we're family. Yeah, you need that day off. Oh, you can't work a shift, no problem. I'll do it, or I'll get Sally or Susie or Jimmy to do it. Um, oh, you're feeling sick today and you want to go home early. Yeah, we're family, no problem. And then when I would need someone to cover a shift or to work something extra, or big order came in, no one would step up and work the other way. So it was very one-sided family. So I started asking people, I'm like, and it's hard not to make it transactional, Chris, because that's where you have to build the trust and have the understanding and the whys aligned ahead of time. But it's like, all right, yeah, take the half a day, but kind of offhanded, not like, and remember, someday there'll be a moment when I need something for you. We both know that Mike, like the mafia, like the Godfather, but just like, yeah, I got you. Just remember when I need you, man. And they're like, yeah, I got you, and away they'd go. And then most of the time they would, because you've built that reciprocity in their brain, as opposed to like, I work for you and screw you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that reciprocity principle, it's extremely strong in human beings, but unfortunately, we all think like, oh, obviously this will trigger that reciprocity, but sometimes it does need to be directly stated, especially when it's an employer, because at the end of the day, you are paying this person. They're not show. They're, no matter how much of a family you are, people aren't going to show up and work for somebody else for nothing. Like there is always an exchange of value.
That's right. Even in family-run businesses where they are taking advantage of their actual family,
Mhm.
there is an exchange of value there. Maybe you're getting a roof over your head or food or something, but yeah, people don't work for free. We're past that in our society. So let's just not do that anymore.
So let's get back a little bit to mindset. What is the difference between owning a business and having a business owner's mindset?
Yeah. So you can own all of us who own a business own a business. The business owner's mindset is, are you thinking strategically? Like, are you thinking past today and tomorrow? Are you thinking, how are we going to grow this thing next year and 10 years from now? Are you thinking about growing your people, or are you thinking about who's going to show up for work that day? Like those are a couple of really big ones that say you're in the owner's camp versus the operator's camp.
How do
Um,
you find?
oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say like oftentimes when we're in the business, we're so focused on the minutia. I kind of liken it to if you're driving in heavy fog, you can only see five lights are right in front of you. You see 5 feet in front of you, so you're just there all the time, and it
Yeah.
gets harder and harder and harder to detach, and almost get like a helicopter view and be able to see like, okay, there's clear roads for very, very far, and that's what
Yes.
we need to be as owners. But it's the hardest thing to do when you're in it.
That's so true. Something that really changed my life, Chris, and I hope every single person listening to this takes advantage. I don't care if it's with you or with me or somebody, is get someone you trust, a coach or a mentor, to come in with fresh eyes to look at what you're doing in your business. And then have the thick enough skin to listen to what they say. Don't just discount it. Like the analogy of the helicopter, so right on. One of my hobbies is helicopter flying,
Oh, cool.
and I was in a place in Nebraska, and it was sopped in. Like the airport, you couldn't move even in a helicopter. And then it got just good enough that you could take off in a helicopter, which is a lot less than an airplane, and barely popped up, and you could see forever, absolutely forever. And so that's just like the best analogy. When you said that, I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly how it is. When I started bringing in coaches and mentors, and not just people that were my peers, but people, and not just people that were the next level, but sometimes 10, 100 levels above where I'm at, I'm getting in these better rooms just by asking, hey, like I want to learn. Put my hand up. Can you please show me? Like, absolutely changed my mindset on what was possible, what was even possible, and got me really onto that ownership versus the operator track. Because a lot of us as operators, we don't even realize we're doing it.
Yep.
We just think this is what it is, and all of our friends are doing the same thing, and all of our peers are doing the same thing, and our family's usually in it with us, and they're all doing the same thing, and you're just blind to it. And then mixing up your mentors. You got to go people out of your field or out of your comfort zone, or um, a gentleman I've worked with a little bit recently is a recently retired U.S. Navy SEAL Master Chief. And he asked me something a few months ago that, like, I just like to pass on because it really gets you to think. And it says, everyone says they want something, but they want nothing more. I'm like, oh, like for years I've said, for example, I want 6-pack abs, and I actually go to the gym 6 days a week. but I'm not eating for six-pack abs, Chris.
Mm.
And do I know how to eat for six-pack abs? Yeah, probably I could figure it out. There's probably 4,000 books out there and YouTube videos, et cetera, et cetera. I like to eat more than I want the six-pack abs. That's just in business, I could give you 15 examples too. But as humans, it's like, what do we really want versus why are we comfortable where we're at? And what's it going to take to move us off that comfort?
Yeah, I always like to tell people you can have anything you want, but you can't have everything because there's no solutions. There's only trade offs. Like anything that you get, there's a trade off in life. So you have to make your
100%.
choice.
Yeah.
Speaking about mentors, that's something I think is really important for our listeners to be able to find. Even myself, how does one like go about finding good mentors? Because I feel like it's getting harder and harder in this world. I feel like as our economy continues to move in a direction that I'm not very happy with due to monetary systems, that's outside of the scope of this current conversation.
Yeah.
It feels though that the pie is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and when that happens, it's our natural impulse as people with 10,000-year-old brains and modern day bodies to just try to extract and get as much as you can before the boat sinks. How does someone like try to find a good mentor that actually is looking out for someone's best interest rather than just their own?
Yeah. I used to think that was a harder question than what it is. I found most people that are at your level, you probably don't want as your mentor. Even one step ahead of you there's some great people that could be great mentors, but most of them are going to look at you as competition, whether they should or shouldn't. Those great mentors are multiple steps ahead of you, and they're actually hungry to let people know what they know for the most part. I and where do you find them? Um, there are some groups out there that are absolutely fantastic. I've been part of some Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership for a long time. That's that's not everyone in there is a great person, but the vast majority of them are great people, and they self police the bad ones out pretty quick. There's some other uh, places out there that you could. I don't want to like say, hey, this person's great, this person's great, this person's great. But there's some other groups out there where they're full of great, smart people. There is uh, when you go to the trade shows, go to something that's adjacent to yours. Like if you make sub sandwiches, go to a baking show. They're still food related. And then find out who is presenting on the expert on whatever, and then go talk to them. Because it's amazing when you actually just talk to people. A few of them will reject you. Most people like ask a few intelligent questions and let them know that you want to talk, and they'll just let you know. I've found more than one that way, and I've actually been approached once or twice that way. I have a couple people I'm proud to say I'm mentoring that they found me that way. I was kind of like I was given a presentation and got asked afterwards. One's an actuary, like has nothing to do with anything I do. Like I don't know anything about actuaries other than they tell me how long I'm going to live, which isn't long enough. Um, but business is all it's all innovation and marketing, right? So every business is the same at its root, and people, even though we all think we're special individual snowflakes, or we're mostly the same in under the hood. So just look for that next level up, next few levels up, and they won't see as competition. They'll be hungry to help you.
It's wonderful. In your book, you kind of move beyond scale into resilience and even exit strategies. Why should owners think about exits long before they ever plan to leave?
Yeah. I think that's something I wish I would have known before I started my first business. Because if you don't have a plan to get out, then you're stuck. Like what you're unless you're a horribly unethical person, you're responsible, or a solopreneur, Chris, you're responsible for a lot of people's livelihoods. You put food on their tables. Yeah, they come and work for you. Like absolutely, they're doing work for it, but you put food on their tables. So if you don't have a plan where all these people are protected, and even from a legacy standpoint, like don't you want to like have a little something that's like, oh, yeah, I built that, like just for your kids and your future, because that's the significance piece of those six human needs coming in. Um, then what happens when you get sick or you get old or you get tired of doing what you're doing? Maybe you have a passion for it, but after 45 years of that passion, you're like, I still really love this thing, but man, I'm tired. I want out. If you build that exit out at the beginning, um, I think you'll be better off. Now, having said that, Chris, I want to rush to say a lot of people buy or build businesses with only the exit in mind, and they're not keeping them profitable in the meantime. If you have a good, profitable business, you could have an exit. Just don't intermingle all of your personal life in it. So it's like someone looks at your books and goes, I don't know if I'm making RV payments or airplane payments or boat payments or paying for kids' school or what's going on in here. Like you can't tell if the business is actually profitable. If you're running a good profitable business with clean books, you could sell it. That's your exit strategy.
Yeah, and also be careful to not just get into a business with the thought of I'm going to flip this quickly because then
Oh yeah,
we know what happens from private equity getting involved in literally everything.
so
Sometimes the
true.
quality falls because the goal is to exit quickly, and the things you do quickly often don't translate into what's good in the long term.
Yeah, there's whole strategies around how they strip out a business just to maximize their value, not the business's value. Yeah, you don't need to be any part of that.
I've seen it many times.
Yeah,
So you say if people don't have an exit strategy, what they may have really worked themselves into is into a job that they can't escape.
yeah.
What does that reveal about how most people misunderstand about entrepreneurship?
It goes to that fundamental question at the beginning: Are you an operator or are you an owner? And most people think they own a business, Chris. And unfortunately, most people are operators in their own business.
Let's go back to the why.
Okay.
So when we're talking about why, I think of purpose. How does purpose help both yourself as the owner, ideally, or as the operator, ideally the owner, and your team stay resilient when, business hits its hard season?
Yeah. You know, it's I'm reliving some hard seasons in my head, so that's why I'm kind of hesitating here. Um, when people's purposes and the business's purpose and your purpose are aligned, and we talked earlier how you get that to happen and the work that happens with that. When the hard times come and people see that you are standing by them, uh, and then they do stand by you, whether that's hour cuts or pay cuts, but everyone's still involved, or I've gone so far as like, here's the books, you could look at them, you could see I'm not taking home like actually anything right now. I'm living off of savings and paying you guys because that's where we're at right now. Um, when you have a certain level of transparency and 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 you're all driving towards the same thing, in some cases the purpose becomes sadly survivability until something happens. Like COVID's a great example. How many businesses did we lose during COVID? We stayed strong. I had a few people leave me during COVID, but that was from their own you know psychological reasons, being out in public, etc. And that's fine. I don't hold that against them at all. At the moment, we all no one knew what was happening. I don't even want to talk about that moment. That opens up all sorts of stuff. But yeah, the rest of us stayed single minded purpose. And at the time, I was running a bakery, and we were bringing a lot of joy to people during that time, and that really helped with that purpose, um, because people needed that joy in their lives.
Do you feel that having a strong mission, like even a mission statement for the business and making sure that everybody up and down the organization really believes in it is something that's important? Or do you feel like mission statements are just something that is said, to put on your website and get the feel goods and then move on from there?
I think most of the time it's the latter. It's the put on the website and feel good, but most of them are from the top down, and there's too many words. And if you're going to have one, it's got to be organic. It's got to be built by the people in the business, and then it's got to be led with, like, post it on the wall and make it part of every meeting. Like ours was, we bring the joy, and that's how we lived everything we did. Like, we have a bad day, we bring the joy. Had a crappy customer, we're going to bring the joy. And it worked because it was short and it came organically. If we had, like, on any given day, we're going to hit 87.9% satisfaction with our customers on a joy matrix so that they have an 82.6% chance of recommending. Like that's, no one will understand or want to live that. So if you
I
can't
think
make it
it's
organic and make it short, don't have one.
interesting. I
My
like that.
opinion.
Mike, what other things would you like to cover with my audience here today before we bring this to a close?
Ooh. Um, why is I'm just about to say something smart that you'd have to cut out. I'm
What's
not gonna.
gravity?
Yeah, exactly. If you could explain worm theory to me, string theory, pardon me. Yeah, it goes to show what I know about quantum physics. Um, no, you've actually done a really amazing job, Chris, of dragging out, pulling out. I hope we didn't drag them out. Oh my God, that would be really boring for your listeners. Pulling out the main concepts that I try to teach people. Um, so I don't know if there's anything I want to go deeper in, but I do want to leave them with like, hey, it doesn't have to be Chris or Mike, but find a mentor, find a coach. You will be better off for it. And take a few minutes and go to MikeDeJong.com. Yep, shameless plug, but it's free and you could take the operator and owner test. Doesn't cost you. I don't even ask for your email address. Like, I'm not tracking you. I don't want to know who you are. Just take the test so you'll know yourself and you can understand where you're at. And then you can start the conversation internally or with your friends and family or your mentor or your coach and start working your way to whatever freedom looks like for you.
Wonderful. And Mike, of course, I was going to give you the shameless plug, so I'm going to do it again, even though you just shot it. If someone, they can go to your website. Obviously, I'm going to link that down in the description below. But where else can someone go to find you? LinkedIn, Twitter, anything like that?
LinkedIn, I'm becoming more active there. I finally, after 8 years, I'm back on Facebook, so you could be like my third and fourth follower. Um, Seriously, I went completely off of Facebook for like 8 years, Chris. I just didn't think it was the place, but I realized that's where people are who I have to talk to. So I'm back and I'm starting to have conversations there. I'm also going to have my book. Uh, here we go. Grow fast. Nope. Look at that. It's got a piece of duct tape. It says grow smart. It'll be up on Amazon by the end of April. We're in April, end of May. Like I get so excited in these podcasts, I can't keep months straight. It'll be up and available. You can download it for absolutely free again at MikeDeJong.com. I don't charge anything for it. It's a PDF, but if you want Kindle or hard copy, it'll be on Amazon the end of next month.
And I think you're also going to be recording the audio for that as well.
I am working towards that. Chapter 1's in the bag. Woo!
Cool. Now, Mike, here at the FI guys, FI obviously stands for financial independence. And over doing the podcast for a few years now and coaching people, I find that financial independence means something very different to every single person that I meet.
Yes.
So, Mike, could you tell myself and the audience, what does financial independence mean to you?
Yes. And, I'll tell you, Chris, it's evolved over the years. It used to mean being able to provide a roof and food for my family. I consider that financial independence. And then it was be able to put them through school. Like, so I paid for their college. That was financial independence. Now I define it as being able to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with whoever I want, and do it on the road. I'm talking to you from an Airbnb in Galveston, Texas. I spent 2 months in Florida. I've sold my house. I'm just moving around the country, moving around the world, living my version of freedom and my vision of financial independence.
That's beautiful. And I hope that our listeners can take some of your teachings and apply them to themselves in order to create a life that you've created for yourself. So, Mike DeJong, thank you so much for joining us here on the Fi Guys podcast. To our listeners, please like, subscribe, but most importantly, please share this podcast with one person that you believe will find value in it. Because the words that Mike brought in today, his teachings, his lessons that he has learned through hard fought battles, are ones that you don't want to have to go through yourself. So please share with somebody and come back next time for the Five Guys podcast. Mike, thank you again for joining us.
Chris, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you. This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.